Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. We've got a big knife for you today. This is the Maxace Ranger. It comes in three ways at White Mountain Knives. You have either this white and black G10, or you can get a red and black G10. Not white and black, white and blue. Since when is that black? Or a red and black G10, or you got green micarta, OD green micarta. And the blade comes either as this nice black wash blade with this, satin flats, or completely. Right now in stock, they've got this knife with the completely black wash blade, or the OD green one comes with, this blade with the nice satin flats. This knife came out in 2019. Comes with XW42 steel. Another new steel. No, not really. It's a variant of D2. It's basically D2 steel with another name, which I should have looked into that when I ordered it, because I'm starting to get tired of D2. Manufacturers are still selling a lot of knives with D2, so they're going to keep making it with D2. Hopefully they'll get the picture that a lot of us are getting little oversaturated. Let's put it that way, oversaturated with D2. There's just too much D2 knives in the market right now, especially folding knives. Fixed blades, D2's a really good choice, but stainless steel is a good choice too quite often. But folding knives, we often want to have stainless steel. So what we have is, I won't go over the details on this. It's a liner lock knife and pocket clip right side only. It's a big knife. Let's go over to the tabletop and check it out. There is the knife. I think it looks quite nice. Let's do the size comparison with the Ontario Rat one. Now you can't see the pivot pin because these handle scales are just screwed on over. The pivot is right about at the tip of my pen right there is where the pivot point is. So lined up with the pivot point, yeah, we've got a longer handle, longer blade, and it's a big knife. It's probably a little bit thicker than the Rat one as well. Now you can just take a look at it while I go over the pricing for this. White Mountain Knives has the G10 versions for $54 American. Take off 10% when you use coupon code CCE at checkout for anything that you buy at White Mountain Knives. Even knives of brands that don't allow sales. Certain brands don't allow retailers to put sales on their knives. There's a workaround. After you've made your purchase, you email White Mountain Knives. Their email address is at the bottom of every page. And tell them you'd like to have your retroactive discount, because Jake from Canadian Cutting Edge said you could, and he'll give you the 10% off. That's what the owner told me to tell you guys, or told me is available. I'm just telling you guys because, hey, 10% is 10%, especially on brands when you're not going to get it from anywhere else, right? So yeah, $54, take off 10%, makes it $48.60. That's a good price. That's American dollars. The micarta version is $60. Take off 10%, you got 54 American dollars. So it's within that range that I call budget knives. I tend to review folding knives that are under $60. Sometimes I go a little bit over that. Fixed blades, they're often a little bit more money. But that's a rabbit trail, isn't it? What do we got? We got a nice drop point blade here. We've got a thumb rest milled into it right there. Comes to a point with this long swedge all the way from that thumb rest right to the tip. And the thickness of the blade, it's all the way up to here, so a little over half the knife, and then you start the taper coming down. We've got a nice little belly here, and then a very little recurve right here. Not much at all. Now, I don't know if that's an intentional recurve or if they just sharpened it into there. I think it might be intentional, but most of your inch-wide stones, if you don't sharpen straight up and down only, but if you sharpen on an angle, moving your stone back and forth on an angle when you're sharpening, you shouldn't have a problem with that recurve. You should be able to do it. Or you can buy recurve stones. I've reviewed some recurve stones by Venev, these nice diamond stones. The stone just has a bit of a curve, like the bottom of my finger. It's got a curve, and so then that curve goes across and takes out the recurve and sharpens it really, really well. Thin behind the grind, not super thin, but pretty much standard, right around 21 thousandths. Big sharpness choil here. It's quite big behind in the ricasso there, but over here at the front, it's just the right size. Very useful. Right here, we've got the badging. It says Ranger XW42 2019. And on this side, we've got Maxace, because it's a Maxace knife. Did I say that before? Yeah, the Maxace Ranger. So that's the blade. The handle, we've got a bit of a dip right here, and then a bit of a crown right here, a bit of a curve. We've got the red backspacer. I think it's also red on the black and red G10. I'm not sure what color the backspacer is on the micarta, but I suspect it's going to be the same green micarta. And then we've got that recess section there for the lanyard. It doesn't bunch out. It sits in there and it can come out the back, which I really like. So your hand is comfortable back here. If you're going to hold on to it really far back, you know, it's just fine. I like the way they did this lanyard quite a lot. A little bit of jimping on there. And the only other jimping on the knife is here on the belly of the handle. We've got a nice recurve inside of the handle. Really good access to the lock release, and that's got that little bit of scalloped jimping on it. Easy to get in there and push that lock away. No problem at all. Right or left-handed, it just works really well. We've got a nice flipper here. Got a little bit of jimping on the front of it. And right now it's easy to use. I've already fixed this knife. This knife came with a strong detent. And it was just too strong. And I've got a video on how I fixed it. Basically, this lock arm had a lot of tension pushing it over onto the knife. And that made it hard to unlock the knife. And basically, I just relaxed the tension right there on the relief cut there for the lock arm. And I show how in my video series about detents and fixing detents. It's not hard to do at all, and now works just fine. Lockup's solid, no blade play, side to side, up and down. Lockup's a bit later than I like it to be, and it was like that from the factory. It's past the midpoint, so it doesn't have a lot of room left to wear. Unfortunately, I really don't like that. This is one of the... Most knives these days don't come with this lay to lock up. Even low-budget knives. So, yeah, that's later than it should have been. That's a con. The G10, you know, you've got a layer of blue G10 on the base and then a layer of white G10 on top. It gets dirty easier than I expected. I've had very few knives with white G10, and the G10 just, it shows off. My hands are very oily, oilier than average, and so they tend to, you know, get dirty. Things that knife handles tend to get dirty easily. So, oh well. A little bit of a colorful pattern milled in there. I mean, these lines show a pattern that's milled into the G10. Quite nice. T8 flush screws that I really like. And there's another one underneath this pocket clip. The pocket clip I'm not that fond of. Take a look at that. So there's one screw holding it in, but it's got a milled pattern that it sits into so it can't wiggle side to side. And you've got an inch of the knife sticking out of your pocket. Let's show that. There we go. Put it down right there. And when you use the knife, you know, you've got a scoop coming up. It doesn't end up hot in the hand right there. And it just works, goes up, but then you've got that much knife sticking out. And with that red as well, you know, this one is the most visible, I'm sure. The black and red might not be quite as visible, but you've got a lot of knife sticking out there. Like I said, an inch, 2.5 centimeters sticking out. It's easy to grab it to pull it back out again. The pocket clip also is not, this is another, just a tiny con. There's a bit of flex left into it. I can push it down, you can hear it. And that's the pocket clip hitting the G10 as I push it down. So it doesn't have spring tension down onto the knife. That's how it came out of the box. Now you can fix that. You just have to take the pocket clip off, hold it on the flat here with some pliers, and flex it at where that curve is right there, so it pushes more pressure down. It's not hard to fix, but you shouldn't need to fix it. It should be good from the factory. So now with the detent fixed, the action's great. It just works really well. It just flies out with authority. Light switch method or push button works really, really well. Let's show you how it's built. I'm going to take it apart for you. So here's how it looks with the handle scale off. We've got the one screw here and the T6 body screw here. From the factory, this was the other way around. This was the flat screw head, no screw hole at all, because there's a D-shaped pin in here. I had turned it around when I fixed the tension of this lock arm. So now all I have to do is take off that screw there. There's no Loctite in any of them. And take off this back screw, which I really wish was a T8, not a T6. It doesn't make sense to me why they put a T6 in there. And then it comes apart. You can see the skeletonizing. It comes with grease in here. I've put some light oil in there. I don't like the grease, and the action became better when I put the light oil in. We've got steel ball bearings in there, and very simple construction. If you don't like this backspacer, you can just remove it and not use it, because it's got these stepped pins there. So this side goes on, and that's as far as it can go together. So if you don't use lanyards and don't want that red sticking out, you know, it's different here. But then you're going to have an inset here. This G10 at the edge is going to be raised up. I guess you could sand it down a little bit. But hey, when it's your knife, you do with it whatever you want, right? There's the T-shaped pivot pin and a D-shaped pivot pin, and there's the D-shaped hole that it sits in. And where did I drop this? Oh, there's the stop pin right there. I thought I'd lost it. It's right there. One other important thing to note is the body screws are two different lengths. The longest one has to go back here. If you put the longer one up here, it's going to hit the blade, especially up here in the front. It's going to hit the blade and you won't be able to open or close it because you have screwed it down like a clamp. So make sure you put the screws in the right order. Keep everything working. So yeah, that's quite nice. Let's do all of the sizes, measurements, and all that stuff. How heavy is this? 135 grams, 4.8 ounces. That's not bad for a big, long knife. How sharp was it from the factory? Not very. I got a score of 265 bests. Not so sharp. Certainly has a tip that pierces really well. And, you know, when I resharpened it, it cuts quite well. But from the factory, this thing was not sharpened very well. And like I said, you've got a recurve there. So if you really hate recurves, you should probably stay away from this knife. The cutting edge length, 104.2 millimeters, 4.1 inches. Blade length, tip to the closest spot on the handle, a bit less, 103.5 millimeters, 4.07 inches. The thickness of the blade, yeah, that's what we're on. Blade thickness, 3.67 millimeters, 0.1445 of an inch, so over 1/8 of an inch. Nice. The blade depth, its biggest right there, sort of like a harpoon style blade right there. Not much, it's sort of like a stretched out harpoon. That's 24.8 millimeters, that's 0.967 of an inch. How thick is it behind the grind? I measured it in 3 places. It averaged out to 0.53 millimeters, 21 thousandths of an inch. The grind angles. This side is about almost 28 degrees. And it started off at 27.9, it started off at 27.7, 27.9 around the middle, ended at 28.1. So very little variability, just a half a degree of variability along the length. This side, it's a little over 28 degrees. It started at 28.3, 28.5, 28.2. So that's like 0.3 degrees difference along the length. So they're doing a consistent angle, but it's a very blunt angle. It's, 67 degrees. No, 57 degrees, which is quite a lot. That's closer to 90, but I'm just exaggerating for effect. It just isn't going to cut very well as if it was a much smaller angle. Since it's like a D2, I'd probably put this thing at 18 degrees per side, and that's what I'd be happy with. And that's what I did when I resharpened it, and then it cut like a dream come true. Really, really nice. So factory sharpness, not that well done because of the grind angles largely. And it's already at the thickness of the behind the grind that I recommend. I don't like it any thicker at all. The handle length, 132.4 millimeters. That's 5.21 inches. So 4 inches, 5 inches. We got over 9 inches here. The grip area is about 11 centimeters, a little bit more than that actually. 4.5 inches. So you got lots of area. If you've got huge hands, extra large, you're gonna like this knife. But they made it small enough that if you've just got men's large hands, maybe even men's medium, you're going to not find it to be too terribly too big. But if you've got men's small hands, it just might not be, it might be too much for you. It might not be. This might be just what you're looking for. The thickness of the handle, it's 15 millimeters. That's 0.59 of an inch. So it's not super thick. It is thicker than average though. The handle depth, this way, it's biggest right here. 25.4 millimeters, which is 1 inch exactly. And when the knife is closed, the widest point is here at the flipper, 34.8 millimeters. That's 1.37 inches. And the total length of this knife is 134.9 millimeters. Like I said, it's just over 9 inches, about 9.25 inches. Like that's a big knife. We've gone over the price and everything already. What are my final thoughts? My summary of this thing. Is it worth $48.60? Like that's what it is after discount. If you don't mind another D2 blade and you like the styling and you can do small repairs yourself, certainly you should be able to sharpen yourself already. But fixing the detent here a little bit, fixing the pocket clip a little bit, and then it's a pretty good knife. Unfortunately, it does need a little bit of work. That detent really was too strong, and it was an annoyance. So I didn't show this before. The blade alignment, it's just a little bit off. Not terrible, just a tiny bit off to this side. Not bad. The other thing I found strange, like I showed you when I took it apart, it's all T8 except for that one body screw right here. It's the identical screw, like the screw part, but a different head. It doesn't make sense to me. Why not just make that one T8 as well? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. So it's a pretty good knife. Not a great knife. If you're really into the style of this thing, if you want something really long and narrow, then maybe you want it. Who knows? Let me know down below if you've got one of these, if you're going to get one of these. Make sure you use my coupon code when you buy it to get that discount. And thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.